Welcome, everyone. How wonderful to be together today in One Mountain, Many Paths, where our mission is what Barbara Marx Hubbard and Dr. Mark Goffney call the planetary awakening in love through unique self symphonies, where we activate a new humanity and awaken as a new species. Homo amor, the fulfillment of Homo sapiens. We are a church, a synagogue, a zendo, a mosque, a temple where no one is excluded. Everyone is included, and we come together to attune to the evolutionary impulse awakening within us. I am Christina Tahel, the co-executive producer, along with Krista Josefa, Jacqueline Clark, and Jamie Long. And we are so delighted to be together with each and every one of you during week 268 of our live community broadcast. What a privilege it is to be part of this global community where we contribute to humanity's flourishing. Wow. Teachings from One Mountain, Many Paths are in books by Dr. Mark Goffney and Barbara Marx Hubbard and others. On our website resources page, you will find these books like Soul Prince, Your Path to Fulfillment, by Dr. Goffney, where he explores using the power of myth, biblical, and folk, his personal experiences. He offers wisdom on forming bonds in truth and in love, along with penetrating analysis of our obstacles. Our live One Mountain broadcast is also the key place where new teaching, new leading edge Dharma, and new dimensions of the new story emerge for the very first time. Join us each Monday on Zoom, where we practice contemplative writing to the evolutionary love codes from today's communion. All members receive an email invite and are warmly welcomed. Receive ever deeper mystical gifts. Step closer into the universe story. Create with us our great library or the Homo Amor Library, Memory of the Future. Reach out to me for the holy opportunities. My email is in the chat box now. I give a ginormous shout out to Krista Josefa, who tirelessly supports the One Mountain community and brings great joy to this community through her compassion and her creativity. So thank you so much, Krista. Use the Zoom and Facebook chat functions to say hello, to let us know where you're from, to express your prayers, and to resonate the Dharma. On Zoom, check that your chat settings say everyone so that we can all hear from you. Sign up for and read our weekly email. There you find our replays, community activities, feature videos, volunteer opportunities, celebrations, surprises, and inspiration. What to expect today. First, a Dharma recap from myself from last week. Then Terry Nelson will set our intention. David will resonate our evolutionary love code. Krista will invite us deeper into community. Then David will move us into prayer. As we move to our unique sermon with Terry Nelson, we will bring people on screen in gallery mode, but muted. To close, we bring everyone on for an intimate dance practice and for our goodbyes. Yes, we will enjoy a special guest teacher today, Terry Nelson, who will guide us in a deep inquiry around embracing victimhood and avoiding responsibility as generating a global intimacy disorder and how we can train for responsibility as unique self. Terry is a longtime friend of Dr. Mark Goffney, a generous supporter of One Mountain, Many Paths, and a scholar of the Center for Integral Wisdom. Terry was a chief trainer for LifeSpring large group training, personal development, and human potential movement. I welcome all who are new. We need you. Know that each week is a standalone and every week does build on the week before. One Mountain, Many Paths is so radically committed to telling the new universe story. So here goes my recap from last week. People are not naturally good. We must train for goodness. All of life is about training goodness. We don't become unique self or homo amor without engaging in a constant, gorgeous process of training. The delight of our life is to engage in that process of training. The reason the training works, that our training is animated by ecstatic urgency and by joy, is because although we're not naturally good, we are inherently good. We participate in goodness because goodness is our deeper nature. No matter where we've fallen, goodness lives in us. No matter how much we've given up, goodness hasn't given up on us. Goodness calls us. We don't feel alive, feel good, or feel like we are realizing our life unless we are engaged in realizing our goodness. We want to realize our goodness through effort, to sacrifice for it. We want to be in that great heroic journey towards our own self-transformation, to step into our unique expression of goodness or our unique self. That's why what we call anthro-ontology works, meaning the reason we can know ethics for our own clarified interiors is because our own clarified interiors are good. But people are not naturally good. The belief that people are naturally good is wrong and dangerous. People are inherently good. But the belief that people are not inherently good is wrong and dangerous as well. So why is the belief that we're naturally good wrong and dangerous? There are 5 reasons. 1, when something goes wrong, we can always blame it on outside forces. 2, we are no longer morally accountable. 3, we don't need to train for goodness. 4, we don't need to change our inner values. And finally, 5, the basic struggle then becomes between the human being and society and not between the human being and herself. Responsibility doesn't mean cancellation or shame. No, it means we take responsibility because that's what makes a person great. A person can take responsibility and can transform, and we can love each other even more. We don't engage in a denial of evil in which we say we're naturally good and evil is just sick. We don't reduce self-transformation to a therapeutic culture. We train to realize that which is inside of us. Evil happens in many forms. Evil is not just Hitler. It's evil when we shut our eyes off to suffering. It's evil when we don't speak out against injustice. It's evil when we take away our unique gift when it's uniquely needed in order to change the world. Evil is not a pernicious devil. Evil is when we are not standing for life. The process of self-transformation is the major process of a human being. We each must be continually engaged in a process of self-transformation. Amazing grace lives in us. Goodness has to be trained. We need education and training to align our soul and heart to the inherent goodness of the cosmos. Now, I invite us to more deeply enter into the holy and sacred space of One Mountain, Many Paths, and I turn my word to you, Terry Nelson.
All right, Christina, thank you. I always feel so given to by your introduction, so thank you. And for everyone else, thank you for having me today. Mark is in Europe training for goodness. And he's asked me to stand in for him today, which are big shoes to fill, as always. Now, last Sunday, I was here in One Mountain sitting in the Austin airport. I had just attended a service for my sister-in-law who died about 2 weeks ago. And it was an interesting time to be sitting in One Mountain, having just heard my sister-in-law's eulogy and talked about her. And part of the service, her son Matt did a slideshow, up on the screen. And it was a slideshow of her whole life. It started with pictures of, there she was, 6 months old, being held by her parents, then 3 years old, and then 10, and then 15, high school, cheerleading, college, graduation with the flat top hat on, marriage to my brother Warren, then the two kids, Matt and Beth, and then events through their lives, houses they lived in, that went all the way up to, and then grandchildren, and then all the way up to about a few days before her death. And it was I can't quite describe it. It was wonderful. It was poignant. It was disorienting to go, wow, a whole life beginning to end. And there, within that are all the choices she'd made and the choices she didn't make and the love she gave and maybe the love she didn't give and the difference she made and the mattering and the not mattering, all there, a whole life beginning to end. And it was, it forced reflection, especially as I look at it and I go, well, I got more time behind me than ahead of me. I want to make sure I make use of that time and have it matter that I lived. Mary was such a joyful person. People got up and spoke, about Mary. And one of the things I learned about Mary, you get a sense of Mary, was she specifically did not want her daughter or her son, Matt, to have her ashes. She wanted the daughter, Beth, to have her ashes. Because she wrote, because if I give it to Matt, he'll probably knock it over and vacuum me up. And I don't want that to happen. So make sure Beth gets the ashes. So that gives you a sense of Mary. Now, meanwhile, my older brother Warren has Parkinson's disease. And he's sort of in mid-progress. And, those of you who know Parkinson's, it's a tough deal. His balance is going, his speaking is, it's really a struggle, but he's still in there sharp as a tack. And sadly, he said, I feel like some of my friends are writing me off like I'm a dummy or something, but he says, I'm here, but it's hard to talk to him. And this is my big brother and I love him tremendously. And, as I listened to Warren, first I called him, weeks ago and I said, okay, Warren, when can I call you? And he goes through his schedule. Well, you can only call me this hour because at this moment I got voice lessons and then I got to do this. And then I got the doctor and then I got on the treadmill. So even with Parkinson's, he's going full out. So in terms of today's topic, as I looked at my brother Warren, he has Parkinson's, but Parkinson's doesn't have him. he is not a victim of Parkinson's, and the circumstance is he's got Parkinson's, and the end is pretty predictable. It's going to be flat on his back, unable to talk, move, swallow. That's where it goes. But my brother is not a victim. He is still responsible for the attitude, the feeling, the agency he brings to the circumstances. And in Parkinson's, it'd be pretty easy to be a victim. And as I thought about my brother, really after church and, in the airport, I said, well, it's like Viktor Frankl says, about, as he wrote about being in, World War II concentration camps. There were people there who couldn't do anything about their circumstances, but they still could be fully responsible for the meaning they brought. You can harness my body, but you can't harness my mind. And people who, as Frankl says, people who were responsible, who found meaning in this thing, they tended to live. And people who, he said, who tended to look at themselves as a victim tended to die. And a lot of people died in both cases. But, if you're a victim, getting killed and dying in the camp, it fits in with that context. So having said that, my sister Allison and I had breakfast a couple mornings last week in Austin while we were back and forth with Warren in the service. And somewhere in the conversation, Allison reminded me of an exercise she did in the LifeSpring training some 20, 30 years ago about being a victim or being responsible. And so the exercise is basically, okay, bring to mind a time in your life where you were a victim. It happened to you. You got divorced, you got fired, somebody stole money, the car accident, whatever, but it happened to you. Tell the story, just get into it. And then you got a partner that you must convince you were a victim. They got to get it. So that takes, 3 or 4 minutes telling the story. And then at the end of that time, the exercise is, okay, now for that same story, the exact same story, I want you to adopt a different point of view. Tell it from a different point of view. This time, tell that same story, but instead of you were a helpless victim, it was done to you. I want you to sit in the driver's seat. I want you to tell it from 100% responsibility. You caused it to happen exactly like it happened. You set it up to happen exactly that way. Powerful person that you are, and in charge of your life person that you are. Now, in groups, when I give them that, when I'm doing the trainer and I give them that direction, which is a staple of the beginning, the basic training, it looks like I've asked people to swallow a poison pill. You can hear a pin drop. The energy goes down. It's heavy, and it's palpable. You can feel the resistance to adopting that point of view. Now, and then tell the story responsible. And again, before, convince your partner that you caused it, and give yourself permission to get into it. I even, as people are not happy, I say, look, at the end of this 3 or 4 minutes of convincing your partner that you caused it, you can go back to being a victim. Just get off it for a few minutes. Now, not everybody gets off it, but the idea is your partner, if he's convinced, he stands up or she stands up. Those people who get their partner to stand up have quite a transformative experience. And what Allison was saying is, I remember that exercise. And at the end of that, I was giddy and laughing. I couldn't believe it. I was full of energy, and I was looking at my life from that point of view, and everything transformed in that moment. Now, I have to say, when I was a student in that basic training in 1977, I had the same experience, like, wow. Now, having that experience and that revelation was very hard for me in my basic training, because when I started the basic training, I was already fairly convinced that I was God's gift to awareness. So to learn new stuff was hard for me. But I'm going to invite you at the end of the sermon today to do homework. Try that for something in your life. Write your story sometime when you were a victim, even knowing you're going to tell it responsible, then switch and notice what happens. Notice your experience. and I'll come back to this later, but where you're coming from, victim or responsible, is experientially verified. Think about that. I'll come back to it. Now, my intention today is to invite you and encourage you to clarify for yourself where your inherent responsibility is along your own evolutionary process. I also want to say responsibility is complex and nuanced, and I'm going to try to hint at it today. And today will probably sound more like a brainstorming session than a lecture. But again, intention is to encourage you to notice where you look at life through a victim lens, if you do, and where through a responsible lens and where you do. All right. So having said that, there's a prayer called the Serenity Prayer that goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, that's a nice, friendly statement, and it has some value depending on your level of consciousness. But it's a little dangerous because, we're prone to, our ego calls us to protect and be a victim. And the courage to change, to accept the things I cannot change. I'm suggesting there's a lot more things in the list I can change that I don't now think I can. So this is a nice prayer, makes you comfortable, but beware. So with that introduction, David, I turn to you for the code.
Thank you, Terry. So good to have you here. Thank you for the invitation. You're always inviting us to our greatness and to a fuller expression of ourselves. So friends, this is where we move into resonating the code. And this week, Terry has written the code. What the code is all about is actually consolidating the wisdom that's going to be transmitted today into a concise set of statements that we can all follow. So here's the code. This week's evolutionary love code. A manifestation of a global intimacy disorder is the embrace of victimhood and the avoidance of responsibility. Love and responsibility evolve in tandem at every new stage of consciousness. Responsibility is not natural. Victimhood tends to be our default mode. Responsibility is inherent. It needs to be trained. It needs to be stood for. Training for responsibility is an uphill battle that is totally worth engaging. Awareness of my unique self and its obligation demands me to create myself responsible and eschew victimhood. And finally, responsibility is not some external thing you either take or don't take. It's something that you either are or are not. It is a perspective. It is a lens through which and within which reality shows up. So with that code, I turn my word to you, beloved Krista, to invite us into contribution.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Terry. And I just want to start us off with a song. And with this word responsibility, Terry already mentioned it. There can be this resistance to it. And I'm reading everything in the chat box. And also for myself, I'm noticing this heavy feeling when I'm being confronted with where in my life I am actually still living from this victimhood perspective. And I had the privilege to have a couple of conversations with Terry and also about this topic. And in the last years, I've been invited in many, many ways to shift this perception from victimhood into power. And this song is about that, changing our perception. And it's actually a very joyful song because taking responsibility, the more I do it, the more I realize that it's filled with joy because it's actually opening up my heart and my body and my whole life to the fullness of my power and my possibility. So I want to invite us all, as we are practicing right now together, training for goodness and training for responsibility to also feel a little bit of the joy and the power that is arising in that.
You've been trying to put me in a box, saying this is it, you'll never be enough. Take those dreams and put them on a shelf. So for many years I was holding back, thinking I should be more like this or that. Then I saw the real truth of it all. I am not who you think I am. I am so much more. I am one with source. I am limitless, infinite, powerful, abundant, complete from the start. Creator of all I am, that I am. I am, that I am. I was stuck in thoughts, doing it that way. Didn't listen to the things my heart would say, letting fear take over and decide. But then I realized that the choice was mine. I could feel the shift. I began to shine, living an empowered, beautiful life. I am not who you think I am. I am so much more. I am one with source. I am limitless, infinite, powerful, abundant, complete from the start. Creator of all I am, that I am. I am, that I am. Everything around could fall apart, but I would still have love in my heart. Open eyes, now I see that there is nothing to do, just be. I am not who you think I am. We are so much more. We are one with source. We are infinite, limitless, powerful, abundant, complete from the start. Creator of all.
So now let's take all the joy of taking responsibility and all the joy of our power and build this revolution together, because in this conversation about responsibility, we are also all invited to feel responsible for One Mountain, for everything that we're creating here, for our global communion of pioneering souls. And you are invited to step in and to participate in whatever way that your heart is telling you to. And one of the ways of doing that is, of course, by contributing, by becoming a member of One Mountain. So I just want to show you quickly before we continue how you can step into membership. And you do that by going to our website, which is called onemountainmanypaths.org. And if you click here on membership, you will find out how to become a member. And we do encourage everyone to give as much as you possibly can. Membership already starts at $25, but most people are giving $100 a month. And that is amazing. And that is what we need to bring our revolution to the next level. And as you become a member, you will get access to 9 courses. You can find them all here. And there's actually a group of members now studying together, becoming a future human. The next member study group will start in January. So you are welcome to come and practice, come and train for goodness together as a member of One Mountain. And I can't wait to meet you, get to know you, and see you inside. And with that, I turn my words back to you, David.
Thank you, Krista. Your voice is still resonating within my heart. So friends, here we move into prayer. And what is prayer? It basically means that we can relax, we can rest, we can take a deep breath and know that we are held by something larger. So when we invoke prayer, we actually train our perception to connect with the ultimate. And here at One Mountain, Many Paths, what is the ultimate? What is God? We are actually connecting with God in 3 persons, the 3 faces of God. So we can move first and perceive the 3rd person face of God, who is the infinity of all that is, that which is binding all the life together, all the interconnectivity, that which is energizing the force of evolution towards higher and higher levels of consciousness, complexity, that which is dazzling us all around, the love that actually moves the sun and other stars, as often is said. We can actually move to perceive this awe around us by looking up at the stars, by looking over a beautiful sunset, by looking out at the sea and just being moved to tears. We can even just watch the TV series Planet Earth. I don't know if you've seen that, and just get a sense of the dazzling intelligence that's all around us, that's connecting and evolving everything. So that's the 3rd face of God, the 3rd face of the ultimate. And as Krista so beautifully sang to us, there's another dimension. There's God in the 1st person. There's God, the 1st face of God. Everything around us could fall apart, but I'd still have love in my heart. So that love that evolves all things is actually living within us. So we can actually turn inside and find that we are not merely who we think we are, that our essence is love, that we're actually God having a unique experience. We're actually a unique manifestation of the evolutionary impulse that is around us, but it's also within us, that we are an irreducibly unique perspective of reality. And this is what Dr. Mark has added to this teaching of oneness, of I amness, is actually I am a unique configuration of God. So as also Krista said, is we are so much more, we are infinite, limitless, complete from the start. So find that place within you that you can rest in, right? Open our hearts. And finally, we turn to God in the 2nd person, the 2nd person of cosmos. This is where we can actually fall into her arms, fall into God's hands, and know that we are held, that every word we utter is received, that God is the infinity, not of just power, but also of intimacy that's closer to us than our closest beloved in this world, that actually hears everything we say and says, I love you madly. So as we move into Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, let our perception of God animate our prayer. So what I'd like to invite everyone to do is speak your prayer or write your prayer in the chat box. Just say, I pray for, right? I pray, and ask for everything. As Dr. Mark often tells us, ask for everything because everything is heard. Every prayer is heard. So as we are listening to Hallelujah, go ahead and write your prayers in the chat box. And then afterwards, we're going to, or actually during the song, we're going to invite everyone to become a panelist for the workshop and the sermon that Terry's going to do afterwards. So let's rest together and feel this music opening our hearts. Take us inside to the holy and broken. Hallelujah.
Now I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major. your throne and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the hallelujah. 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 You say I took the name in vain. I don't even know the name. But if I did, well really, what's it to you? There's a blaze of light in every word. It doesn't matter which you heard, the holy or the broken. Hallelujah. 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 I did my best. It wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. I've told the truth. I didn't come to fool you. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
All right. Yes, let's go to the chat box, everyone. And as I read the prayers, we can magnify everyone's prayer as we listen. And also, you're going to get an invitation to become a panelist. I invite you to accept that invitation. You can turn off your video for now if you'd like. But here we go. We have prayers in the chat box, everyone. Becca, Suzette. Suzette says, I pray to know the right words to help others know how awesomely unique and wonderful they are and how much they are needed. Amen. Becca, I pray that joy is infused in every heart around the world. Ocean beings, wings, standing people, creepy crawlies, and two-leggeds. Yes, hallelujah. I pray to step into full responsibility and full joy and pain, says Jamie. Yes, Joycey, I pray for health and enlightened emotions in living out my life joyfully and thankfully. Amen. Let's lift these prayers up. Paul from Wellington, I pray for clarity on the new coronavirus and health for all. Yes. Yes, Shahati, Krista, I pray for the power and wisdom to take ever deeper responsibility for my health so I can show up powerfully for us all. Yes, all the prayers come pouring in. Suzanne, Jacqueline, Melanie, Edwin, Melanie, I pray to release all fear and be who I am meant to be. Edwin, I pray for my sick friend, Sandra. Raquel, I pray that a lot of people wake up to the vaccine and other measures are definitely not working as so many had hoped. Yes, let's clarify our perception. Geisha, I pray for healing of my broken heart. Yes, let all these prayers come pouring in as I turn my word to you, Terry, for our sermon and workshop.
Okay, thank you, David. Now, I'm about to tell you the main topic of the sermon for today. And I must say that it's scary, even terrifying. And so I'm going to say the word in a minute, and please don't faint, don't scream, don't, turn off the video or leave the meeting when I say this word. So here it is. Freedom. Good. You're all still here. That's good. Now, here's the joke. The joke is you think I'm joking. The joke is you think I'm joking. And in general, notice the attack democracy is under in the world today. Freedom, terrifying. Responsibility, terrifying. Responsibility equals freedom. Now, before, we're about to explore you being in the driver's seat or not in your life. And that's often for human beings a scary proposition. And we are selective about when we say we are and when we're not. But to digress for a minute, I hadn't thought about, Mark's topic last week. Goodness is not natural, but inherent, and goodness must be trained. But really, I must say that in all the years I've been a trainer, I now see that what I've been doing is training people's inherent goodness, training people's inherent responsibility. And responsibility is certainly a foundation of goodness. And as a trainer in large groups, I think I might have mentioned this to some of you before, it's me and a couple hundred people over, many days and many hours. But I'm always confident I'm going to win because I know the secret. And when I say I know the secret, it's like who I'm talking to out there I know the secret that people love and they want to be loved. People are inherently responsible and they want to be responsible. And I speak to that. I relate to people like whatever it is that they're telling me is going on in their life, they caused it, they're in the driver's seat. And, when I talk to people like that, a lot of people say to me, don't talk to me that way. I don't have a vote. And of course, I always say, well, who should I talk to about your life? And a lot of times it's about somebody else. I'm always, one picture I have, if you've seen the movie The Exorcist, where that girl is in the bed and her head's spinning around and she's puking green slime onto the priest trying to do the exorcism. I sometimes feel like that priest, but I'm always trying to read that little sign that appears on her stomach that says, help me. Help me. And, St. Augustine says one time, there is one within me who is more myself than myself, really talking about the inherent me that's in there that I'm always talking to. And let me say at the beginning, I invite you all to talk to people's inherent goodness, talk to their inherent responsibility with a commitment to training it to come out. All right, let us start. First, I'd like you to just think about your own life. If you were to rate yourself, how you see yourself in the driver's seat or not in your life, like 1 to 10, 1 being I don't have any vote, my life is externally caused, and 10, I'm 100% responsible. What would you rate yourself, 1 to 10? I'm not going to get into making a list of where I see I'm responsible, where not. I mean, there's some silly things. I don't think I'm responsible for the clouds in the sky. And, as my wife says, oh, yeah, you're responsible. No, I'm not talking about that. But, where are you responsible? Where are you not? And under what circumstances do you say I am and I'm not? Now, as you think about that, I got some questions for you to reflect on. Have you ever said somebody made me feel something? Somebody made me feel a certain way. Did you ever say that? We probably all have. Something external made me feel this way. Something external was responsible for my life. Think about that. Have you ever been at an important meeting and somebody showed up late? Just remember that time. Now, here's a question for you to consider. Did you cause that person to be late? And of course, the common response is, nope, not my job. Think about it. How did you think about that? Do you know somebody in your life who approaches you and they're always saying, you can't believe what happened to me? And then they tell you their victim story again And you can't believe it happened to them again, time after time after time. Does that ever happen to you? The world is always raining in that person's parade. Now, let me just go back a minute to just look at the made me thing. They made me feel. And I suggest to you that no one has ever made you feel anything. Even though you say the facts of those words made you feel that way, I say that it's a clever responsibility avoidance, because they said the words. They said, you're a dummy, or you're a jerk, and that made you feel bad. They did it. They're, in charge of you. In order for your life to work, you got to change what they say. They got to be different, or your life won't work. But I would invite you to consider that between what they said and what you felt was your interpretation, the meaning you brought to those facts, for which you are the author, for which you are responsible. So you said, I felt bad because of what they said. And I'm going, no, you felt bad in total harmony with what you made up, that you authored. You made up, oh, they don't like me. And then you feel bad about what you made up, not with what they said, but you say it was what they said. Now, that's a matter of distinction. When I'm doing a workshop, I often ask people, oh, okay, so you can make other people feel bad. Is that right? Well, yeah. Okay, good. Try making me feel bad. And I give them a chance to go give it their best shot. And I just go, great, wonderful, thank you. Because I know that I'm the one that brings meaning to whatever they said in all situations. And I feel consistent with meaning, and I might as well bring meaning that has some positiveness, some power, some love in it, rather than defense and so on. So I refuse to be a victim. And of course, there's an economic aspect of this. If you must change all those people to be different and say different things so they don't make you feel bad, there's billions of those people. On the other hand, there's only one of you. Where do you think you ought to work on stuff? External changing all that, or maybe work on you and be responsible for the meaning you bring for what you author in that situation. And you get to author, you have a choice about that. Now, have you ever noticed in the world today that autocrats and tyrants offer themselves as the ultimate rescuers from the they that are doing it to people? And people are going, oh, yeah, good. Yeah. I think it was Erich Fromm in his book, Escape from Freedom. He said, for most people, a tyrant is better than no leader at all. A bad dictator is better than no dictator at all, because they'll protect us from those people out there who are doing it to me. And the appeal is to our victimness, and it's, a popular appeal. Marketing. Ever notice you turn on the television and they say, if you buy this product, this product will take responsibility for you to be cool, to be healthy, to be admired, to be successful, and to get laid. All you got to do is buy that, new, whatever it is, that new penis mobile, buy that, and, it'll work out. It'll be handled. Of course, the problem is that thing will never be the source of who you are. No thing, nothing outside of you can ever be the source of who you are. Nothing outside of you can ever be responsible. Oh, country music. Listen to country music. Another She Done Me Wrong song. It wasn't my fault. It was the 18-wheeler. Poor, poor, pitiful me. We love country because it's a celebration of victimness. Religion. Religion is a way of avoiding responsibility. When I work in, especially in like Texas, where you got a lot of evangelists, and I'm talking about people taking responsibility, and people come back at me and say, God will provide. Don't talk to me. I don't have to do anything. I can just sit. And I go, wait a minute. God will provide. He sent me to talk to you about responsibility. So God is providing. You're right. I agree. COVID. God will provide. I'm not taking the shot. Are you nutty? God just sent you a vaccine, you dummy. Come on. Have you ever noticed if you or somebody else goes through through life with a kick me sign over your head, it's more than most people can do to resist kicking you. Now, responsibility. What do I mean by responsibility? Responsibility, as I speak of it, is a structure of interpretation by which I declare that I am fully the cause of what happens in my life, including my actions, thoughts, feelings, and resulting events. Not because it's true objectively, because it's true because I said so. Sartre, and beware, he's a postmodern thinker, says to be responsible is to be the uncontested author of an event or a thing. It means authorship. Responsibility is to be aware of creating one's own self throughout a lifetime, one's destiny, life predicaments, and if such be the case, one's own suffering. Responsibility is a chosen perspective. The conscious choosing liberates and evolves the inherent, by the way. So I'm saying, I present responsibility, I don't include moral judgment with it. No blame, shame, or burn in hellness, no badness along with it. Because if it includes moral judgment, I'm responsible and therefore I should burn in hell. Very unattractive, not for me. So I'm leaving that out. I'm saying responsibility because I chose to look at the world through this perspective. Now, it's a context, a within which, and don't forget, a context is a story. It's a story I live in to let the reality show up. I want you to think about the experience of being a victim. And let me read these following words and see if they don't go along with being a victim. Sad, betrayed, hurt, distrustful, uncertain, heavy, lonely, guarded, weak, small, separate, no possibility, unhealthy, hopeless, fake. I'm saying that's generally the list that goes along with the experience of being a victim and being victimized and seeing yourself as a victim. Now, on the other hand, being responsible, as I'm talking about it, is, check your powerful, vital, erotic, connected, loving, risky, open, joyful, called forth, really called forth and called on. Because when you're responsible, you ask for solution from yourself, not out there, intimate, authentic. So I'm asserting that those experiences go with the perspective of victim or perspective of responsible. Now, it sounds sort of stupid that a human being who could choose this perspective or that perspective would choose that whole set of life experiences that go with victim, doesn't it? Sounds a little dumb. You can feel sad or you can feel powerful. You can feel betrayed or you can feel energized and loving. Which do you want? Oh, I choose victim. Well, since we're not stupid, there must be some benefit to choosing to be a victim. Some of the victim, and there are rewards, there are benefits to being a victim. And we choose victim to get these rewards. We're off the hook. We get to belong to the loyal order of victims. Membership has its privileges. We get sympathy. We get attention. We have low expectations for us in life. We get to do nothing and look good. Avoid risk, avoid hard work, be comfortable, and get help from others. A lot of pretty good rewards. But we usually forget the prices we pay for living our life from a victim perspective. The mattering of our life is fairly small because by definition, there's nothing we can do about it. We never find out who we could be. Our relationships are pretty weak because we know sooner or later we're going to get betrayed. So why bother? Our respect to ourselves, because at some level we know, and from others goes down. Not many results. Your piece of the puzzle never gets put in the bigger puzzle. Your unique contribution never gets made. Those are pretty heavy duty prices. Now, is responsibility, does it have some rewards? Yeah, it does. You get results. You got a shot to find out who you could be. You get respect from yourself and to others. Your relationships got a chance to work, especially if you're both 100% responsible. Then You get to sleep well at night. By the way, victims don't sleep well. They toss and turn and worry. You're got a better chance at health, intimacy, and possibility over there. However, responsibility is not a free lunch either. You fail a lot. You fail a lot. And you're searching for a solution. Now, it's not the same. You should die alone in a cold room, failure of being a victim. Hard work. Sometimes you got it alone. You know, it's like walking on a tightrope and you're holding on to the edge. At some point, you got to let go and trust in yourself. And, you know, there's no net down there. Death, as a matter of fact. Martin Luther King was pretty responsible. He says, I have a dream, and he stood for it. He was responsible, and they killed him. Not a free lunch. You get ridiculed, and so on. Now, I am saying to you, the choice of the victim perspective or the responsible perspective is first, which one you're coming from, which one you're doing, is experientially verified. You can't say, oh, I'm responsible, and have the sad, betrayed, hurt, distrustful experience. If you say that, you're a victim using the words that don't match. So it's experientially verified. So which one you choose, my friends, in One Mountain depends on what you're committed to. Depends on what you're committed to. If you're at the egocentric level of consciousness, and survival and being right about your beliefs, because if you're not right, you're going to die, and being right is your ego's survival. Being a victim works. Matter of fact, it fits in with the survival mentality, and if you say, pretty much if you answer, who am I? The answer is, I'm the skin bag over here. I got to protect it. But if you move up into a higher level of consciousness and you start to recognize your unique self, your unique gift, your unique obligation, that realization, that awareness has a requirement to choose, I am responsible because I said so, and look at the world that way and let it show up for you in that context, in that story. Now, Heidegger calls responsibility, they use the same word for responsibility and guilt, but he uses guilt in the sense of a healthy guilt called, I'm always constituted and I'm always constituting. I always am and I'm always becoming. And awareness of my possibility to become has me be guilty that I'm not quite there, but it's a guilt that calls you forth, not one that has you curl up in a ball. It's healthy. Now, also, I want to do a little caveat. I am not saying you should be stupid. If you go to work tomorrow and your work environment is a total win-lose environment about assessing blame at that level of consciousness, it's probably not wise to get up and say, I'm responsible, because everybody else will go, yeah, you're to blame, it's your fault, and then you bear the consequences. So there's some wisdom required in where you declare it, and how you declare yourself responsible. So be cautious. And last, a reminder that once you declare yourself responsible, you don't get to keep it. You got to practice it. You got to bring yourself into existence now and now and now and now, or else your ego will get up and bite you in the butt and say, safer being a victim. Why don't you go there? And not in fact, you got a lot of support for being a victim, and so on. Now, you got to practice. And as I finish here, when I play golf, which I don't do very well, I have this joke that when I'm having a tough shot, I say, oh, what would Tiger Woods do here? Which all my friends think are very funny because I'm clearly not Tiger Woods. But I got this new mantra that I'm saying to myself as we go from Homo sapiens to Homo amor. I'm going, okay, what would Homo amor do in this situation? How would Homo amor see this? What would Homo amor say? Try it on like a coat, see what happens. And I'm fairly sure Homo amor would say, I am responsible because I said so. That is the way I will look at the world. I'm responsible for the whole thing. There's no me and not me. It's just me. There's no us and them. It's all us. My circle of compassion, as I say, I'm responsible, includes everyone. And having said that, I think it is now my job to say thank you to you all and turn us over to Krista. Is that right, Krista?
Yes.
All right, Krista, thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Terry. That was amazing. It's so great to see all of our faces on the screen as we're all here training for goodness together. And I can really feel how the Dharma is infused in you, Terry, and then uniquely bringing it down to all of us to make it real with all these examples and practices and inquiries. And I absolutely loved it. And I think we all did. And also, I want to invite you, if you feel like you want to share something that came up for you this week, you're welcome to find me, and I'll put my email in the chat box. And also, let's find each other, all of us. Let's practice for and train for goodness together. And as a member of One Mountain, you can do that. But also, I'm sure most of us know each other. So let's write each other and be together in this. Right now, we're going to dance it out as every week. So we'll turn on some music. We are the people, so we can feel this moving in our bodies. So Christina, please turn on the music.